Hello, I'm Diane Huth, the Accidental Career Coach, and tonight I want to talk with you about the importance of selecting your professional name early in your career and using it consistently throughout your working life. A lot of people don't think about the name. We were born with the name, but it's very important that you select the right name that will represent you professionally throughout your career. Today, we work in a global society. There are a million Mary Jones out there. How do you make sure you are the one that is known for your professionalism? How are you going to find yourself on Google? How is anyone going to find you on Google or Facebook or Skype or LinkedIn unless you really specify and make very specific your professional name? Because there's so much competition in the name area, it's preferable that you use a middle name or middle initials so that you stand out. I have a friend who has been harassed by bill collectors because there's another person with the exact same name who wrote a bunch of bad checks. And she's had a legal battle trying to just fight off the fact that I'm not that person. It may be my name, but it's not me. So she has gone to using her middle initials and her middle name. I think you should do that too. Generally, you'd use your middle name. And for married women, I want to talk about those issues which are different. When you're young and in your career, you of course use your maiden name. When you marry, you have to decide what you want to do about your name. We all, when we marry, decide that we're going to be married forever, and so we adopt our husband's name. You may very well want to keep your maiden name as your middle name, get rid of your middle name and replace it with your maiden name, and then add your husband's name at the end. That way people will be able to follow you throughout your career trajectory. So in my case, my maiden name was Diane Kloss. When I got married to Marvin Huth, I added his last name, so I became Diane Kloss Huth. Now, there are not a lot of Huths out there in the world, so it's a name that doesn't have much competition. But when I got divorced, then I had to make a decision. Do I go back to my maiden name, which would have been very simple because I had kept my maiden name on college diplomas and a whole bunch of other things. Or when you're a woman, you may, and if should you divorce, you may decide, like I did, to keep your husband's name because it's the name of my child. And it gets really confusing when you're Mrs. Jones and your son is Mrs. Smith. People don't understand that. It becomes complicated for the children, for the school, etc. I recommend that you not choose the hyphenation, taking a hyphen between your maiden name and your married name. That's very confusing. It tends to be very long. There are forms that it doesn't work for, especially if you ever get a passport, you travel overseas, they won't get it. It'll be very confusing, and they'll consider your first name of that hyphenation to be your formal name. It'll be very confusing. Now, very importantly, once you've decided on the name that you will have for the rest of your professional career, then you have to do something about it. The first thing you need to do is get an email address that has that name in it. So part of your decision should be, what kind of an email address can I get? So hopefully you can get your name with your middle name in there. If not, you can try things like putting periods before your first name, second, and middle name and last name. You could try to hyphenate it. That's kind of complicated. I suggest that everybody uses Gmail. Gmail is so wonderful. I have friends who say, no, I don't want to get involved in it. But there's a whole bunch of add-ons and technology tools that you can use when you have a Gmail address, including your Gmail calendar, including some wonderful email tools like YStamp. There's a whole bunch of different tools that can go with a Gmail account. So my suggestion is that you get a Gmail account in your professional name. The other option is to set up your own website, which I will talk about at another time, and then give yourself an email address from that name. So I have Diane Huth, or Diane at DianeHuth.com, for example, is one of the names you could have. I also have my company, Diane at Brand You Guide. So I have multiple email addresses, but you want to have your name as a website name. So you need to be searching GoDaddy. I recommend, I love GoDaddy. Search GoDaddy and see if you can get your name as a domain name. You probably can't get Mary Jones, your first and simple last name. but you may be able to get your first name, middle name, and last name. Or you can get your name and then a descriptor, Diane Huth, author.com. Okay, so you want to have a domain name for your personal website in your professional name. And you want to make sure that you use your email address in your professional name, and that you want to make sure that you put that same name across all of your platforms, your LinkedIn page, on your resume. Everything you do for the rest of your life professionally should reflect that personal name, that professional name that is unique and distinctive and that you have across multiple platforms. So that's my simple secret for career success tonight. I'll be back to talk about some other things shortly. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.